I thought I had all of them set, and it still doesn't want to. Oh, there it goes. Finally. Got it. I freaking got it. Today we're going to be trying out some lock picking, and it's going to be the first time I've ever tried it, so let's go check it out in this video. So thanks for tuning in, guys, to First Time Tries, where we try things for the first time, see how it goes so you don't necessarily have to. Today we're checking out some lock picking and seeing just essentially how it goes. First time ever trying it. I've never tried it before, and we're actually going to be looking at a little lock picking kit, like a beginner's lock picking kit that is from Sparrow's Lock Pick. Now, this is not any kind of sponsored video or anything like that. This is just literally me just trying this out because I've always been curious about trying out doing some lock picking, and I wanted to just, see how it went. Because you see the things like in the movies where they use like a hair clip or something like that, or they use maybe a lock picking device, kind of like the ones that's in this kit, and they make it look so easy to the point that it made me kind of think of, well, if it's that easy in the cameras, maybe let me try it out finally. It's been something that I've thought about for, honestly, for years, and it's just one of those, I put it on the back burner, never tried it, but we're gonna try it out today. And it's gonna be a little bit of a journey because I literally bought this kit. This is like a beginner's kit to try out doing lock picking. I even have just a random separate lock that we're gonna try out afterwards and see how it all works out, and then kind of just go from there kind of deal. So I have my camera set up. I have my camera that's gonna be shooting from here. I have my other camera that's just capturing me, and my assistant cat, Georgie here, who is feeling pretty confident in everything, and that's why she's sleeping currently and just on my desk. So in any case, let's get started with what I have here in regards to a lock picking kit. Now, again, I said this kit comes from Sparrow's Lock Picking, and this is their tuxedo kit that is basically a just like a beginner's tutorial. They have like a whole bunch of videos in here, and it comes with a whole bunch of different things, including your lock picks, your tension wrenches, and then a few actual special like cutaway practice locks that you can work with that are set up for like different difficulties. They have like the general one, which is your standard cutaway, and then they have a spool one, which is a little bit more difficult, and then the serrated, which is like the most difficult. So it actually is a kit where you can kind of play with it, get your feet wet with something easy, and then kind of work your way to the more difficult ones. And it literally comes with everything that you have. If you're interested in this kit, I'll have links in the description. Again, this is not a sponsored video kind of deal. But if you are also interested in something maybe a little bit cheaper, because this is a little pricey for what you get, it's like $100. I mean, it's all quality stuff, but it's still a little bit pricey. I did find something kind of similar on the cheaper end on Amazon, which I'll have links to as well. Now let's kind of go through what you get in this kit though from Sparrow kind of deal, and I have their like little sticker over here just kind of showing you, but let's go over what they have here. So the first thing you have is your different kind of lock picks. So they have different kinds that essentially is kind of like just figuring out flavors of different lock pickings that you can use depending on what you're trying to do. And they have two different sets. They have the ones where they're like little hooks like you see right here, and then they have ones that are a little bit of a different method. So it's another hook one, and then another. But like I said, others that have a different method, like this is a little snake version, where you can either pick one little pin at a time, or you can go with what's called a rake. And it's these little ones that have a little bit longer of, they have the little hills and valleys on them kind of deal. And then they so that was like a double rake, and then this one is a triple rake right here, and then they have one that's called the city rake right here as well. So these are all the different picks that you have kind of deal. And then from there you also have your different set of actual tension wrenches, which they're still in the bag. I'm literally opening this up the very first time kind of deal in front of you guys, because again, this is my first time I'm trying this out, so we're gonna really just kind of see how this goes. So opening this up though, it's a different sets of tension wrenches kind of deal that you can work off of. Basically, these are just different sizes based on the actual lock pick that you have, but essentially all the different things that you need. And then the actual lock picks themselves, and then the actual practice locks themselves kind of deal as well. So let me move this to the side. Now, I've done at least a little bit of research beforehand on how to actually lock pick these different things. Now, to go really quickly into the lock pick itself and how it works on these different ones, let's take one of these practice locks out so I can show you, because it's actually a nice little cutout of what you get here, and you can kind of take a look at it. So essentially what's going on here, you have your key here, and then you have these set of pins right here. I hope it's getting caught on the camera, but essentially these pins are at different heights and such, different lengths of these key pins, that when you put your key in, it lines everything up so that you can actually turn the actual spool right here, and that unlocks your lock. So when you actually insert the proper key, what's supposed to happen with all these little pins right here is they all line up so that they're then out of the way, and you can then twist it around. So if I were to insert this in here, you see all the pins now line up. Before, they weren't lining up if I take the actual key out. You see how they're not lined up. But the moment that I put the key in, all the pins are now lined up, and then I can then twist this open. And essentially what we're doing with these lock picks is that we're going in and actually manually setting each and every pin into the unlock position kind of deal, and then we can rotate it out and then we can rotate it to open the lock. So that's essentially what's going on with this, is that you're essentially putting in your key and all the pins line up, but we don't have the key, so instead we're using a lockpick to basically set one of these every single time. Now, there's essentially two different ways that we can do this. We can do it that it's one at a time with an actual lockpick, or what they call a rake, which is this piece right here, where what it basically does is that it uses speed in order to quickly reset all of the pins in the right position. Now you can't just essentially use the lockpick itself. What you need to do is you need to use one of these tension wrenches to apply a little bit of pressure as you're actually feeling up all these different pins. That's why you have this little wrench here. That's why it gives you so many of these different wrenches that you can put here, and you apply a little bit of pressure so that it just applies just the right amount of tension on these pins, so that when you set one, it stays in place as you're setting the other ones. So it's a mix of having this torque wrench and an actual lockpick itself to actually open up these. Now, I sound like I know what I'm doing. I really don't know what I'm doing. This is literally the first time I'm opening this up. I did research on how this works, but I have not even attempted at a first time to actually set these pins, or try to do a lock kind of deal. So that's the fun of this, and literally I'm trying to do this in pretty much one take in regards to showing how I try to do it and see how it goes. But I've been talking enough about this. Let's see about trying to actually unlock this practice lock here. Now, how they say, basically inserting the actual piece in here, how they basically say that it needs to be done is you need to actually go one pin at a time and get it to go in place. So basically you're working from the last pin here, and then kind of working your way backwards as long as you find pins that have a resistance. The key is finding pins that have resistance. That's what actually, ones that are free playing are not ready to be set. You have to kind of go out of order until you find all the pins essentially in the open position, and all the ones that have resistance have been put in place. I know I'm probably butchering how it is properly said, but again, this is my first time trying this kind of deal. I thought this would be a fun one to try. So let's try with the furthest one out here, this furthest pin here, kind of work our way backwards and see how that goes. Alrighty, so putting in the pin, I'm gonna have to rotate this slightly just so I can see what I'm doing. So I can push this first pin into place, but that doesn't want to go. So just kind of going through these. Okay, I see. So it really is, you can't just assume the furthest one from the back is the first one that you need to do. You kind of have to play it by ear at which ones have the most resistance and kind of play with the ones that have the most resistance and get those set. And then as you go, the ones that didn't have resistance then now have resistance, and you can move them into place. I know I'm probably butchering and trying to multitask at the same time, and it's actually kind of a little bit of a challenge. So let's see, let's continue. I think I got one set. I got one set in the middle, the third one is set. So I need to try to go and do these other ones to see if I can find one that doesn't want to go or that is resistant. I think the one closest to the entry hole is probably the most resistant right now. I might be putting too much tension also. This is definitely not as easy as I thought this was going to be. But it might be just because I'm kind of a buffoon and probably trying way too hard to push this through. Let's see. Okay, so it was the middle one and then the first one over here that had to get moved. So I got that one done. And so let's see. So I have two in the open position, and now I need to kind of continue going through and see which other ones want to move. Okay, so this one on the second to last one right here moved. So now I have just two more pins left. So one's freely moving. I lost one. Yeah, looks like I had one, but then I lost it. I think I got it. And now I think I just need this last one to go through. From the visual, it looks like I only have just one pin left. But this is definitely a lot more difficult than I thought it would be. Oh, there's my other kitty cat that happens to be on the desk. So are you going to be helping me with this? Or are you just curious as to what I'm doing? Probably just curious as to what I'm doing. So I do have multiple cats, so that they come and go as they please kind of deal. So don't mind the cameras and don't mind me of what I'm doing. You're just sniffing and trying to see what's going on, kind of deal. So let's see. Yeah, again, it looks like I just have the one pin, like just this one pin on the far end side that is just not wanting to cooperate, and it doesn't want me to open this up. Let's see, let me try maybe a different pick. Maybe that's what it comes down to, is that I need a different pick in order to be able to get this out. And like I feel it and it feels like it's lining up, but I just can't seem to get all the pins to line up. Yeah, I had to abandon that. That was definitely not working. Now, doing pin by pin, obviously, as you can see, was not really working that well. And I almost had it. I had every one lined up except for like one, but I'm going to give it a go in a second, but I did want to try the second method, which is the raking, where you basically have essentially this system here, and basically you have this rake right here where you put it in and then you kind of quickly pull it out while having tension, and that can do on less secure locks, it can actually open up the whole entire thing kind of deal. So generally it works for less, generally it works easier for more simplistic locks that have more higher security level type pins. They won't really work as well, but this might actually work. So let's give this a go and see how this works. So okay, so I have the rake in there, and basically I do a quick pull and almost got everything lined up. So let's try that again. And the key is to pull. From what I understand, there's two methods. You can either saw it back and forth to get it to fit or to get it to work, or you can actually just do one smooth motion and try to pull and see if you can get everything to line up that way. And it seems to almost want to work. Again, it seems like that last pin keeps on being the problem child. Yeah, it's a little challenging trying to get sometimes this to go in and work the right way. Maybe I need to try a different kind of wrench. Let's see what the key how high do these need to be? Okay, so I'm looking at with the key actually here. It's really good having this visual of how high I need to set these springs. So apparently I wasn't having these pins actually set high enough. And that was probably causing my issue with these not actually working in regards to actually using the pins. So let's try that again, but try to have it a little bit further upwards and try it that way. This is not acting as successful as I wanted it to. This is proving quite difficult. I'm determined to try to at least get this unlocked once, at least on the video. I feel like I'm like almost there, but it is acting quite difficult in order to be able to get this to work. Let me try maybe one of the different rakes. Let me try this rake and see maybe that'll work. So some of these pins you can see are going too far up, and others are going not high enough, and that's kind of the issue with these. Let me see if sawing doesn't seem to be working either. Maybe I'm applying too much pressure, and maybe it just needs to. When I did the reading, it said light pressure, but it's kind of difficult to tell what defines light pressure, you know. Now let's try the city rake again. Ooh, I think I almost had it for like half a second, and then it didn't work. Nope. Well, it's probably a good thing that this doesn't work as easily as I wanted it to, because then that would mean that these locks that would mean that everybody would be able to kind of figure it out and do this very simply, but this is actually proving to be quite difficult to do. Almost. Seems like there's like just one pin that's just making it quite difficult for me to get all figured out. Yeah, this is definitely challenging. I thought I was going to be able to get through this quite easily, and clearly not. All right, let's try to go pin by pin like I was before and see if that works, because the raking is not working for me. Maybe because I just don't have a feel for it just yet, and kind of go from there. So let's go through these and figure out how to get this pin. So there's the first one in the middle. Then it was the one on the end that I could, no, it's the second one. You know, I'm trying to go pin by pin, but it's not necessarily the pin that I thought was going to be the one that makes it want to go. All right, I have 3 of the pins set, and it's not the same original 3. But I have the first 3 set, and it's now the last 2 that are being a bit of a challenge. I got 1 more set. It looks like I just need to get this last one in. No, it wasn't set. I had 1 set. It feels like I don't have them all set, and that's why it's... I thought I had all of them set, and it still doesn't want to... Oh, there it goes! Finally! Got it. I freaking got it. Oh my gosh. Okay, so that took me probably 20 minutes in order to do this first actual successful lockpick. And yeah, I definitely think that's pretty cool that you can definitely get it through. And it ended up being that the lockpick, the actual using the regular pick was definitely the way to go, and not the rake, at least to start off with, until you kind of get used to it. So that is pretty cool kind of deal. Now, if I were to set I have it in the unlock position, but the moment I turn the lock, it'll lock back into position. Now, the real question though is, now that I've done the practice lock, could I theoretically figure out how to do it on this kind of lock here, on a regular lock? And I bought this one. It's not any kind of flashy one that is special security. This is like a cheapy lock, mostly because this is literally the first time I'm ever going to be trying it, and I don't even see myself getting through this. I'm going to give myself like a good 10 minutes of playing with this, maybe, now that I've figured out how to do this lock, which is honestly, it's a lot easier to do kind of deal, and it's not going to be the same as, you know, this one where I can't see anything I'm doing. It's just a true regular lock. So we'll have to see and play around with it and see if I'm able to basically do the same principles of trying to unlock this. Now, this lock here, I believe, is either a 3 or 4 pin lock, as compared to the other one, which was like 5 or 6 pins. So I'm curious to see how far I can get through with this lock to actually open it up. But it did feel like I needed to apply a little bit more pressure than what I was doing before to get this to work, kind of deal. Let's see. It's so much more difficult to like just go by feel. And get this to get these pins to unlock. Yeah, this is definitely challenging, just not knowing how this is going. Not being able to see the actual pins makes it that much more difficult. Let's see, let's try the little rake thing. I had some set, I could hear it. Let's see, let me try a smaller wrench, maybe that. I'm using quite a big wrench, and this is a very small lock. Let's see if that gives me enough room to work. Maybe using a smaller rake. I was doing better with the pins. So let me go back to doing the pins on this one. I think I have like 2 set. Yeah, this is a lot more difficult than I thought it was going to be, to be honest with you. It's way more difficult. I think, so I don't necessarily think I can, so I don't necessarily think now that I like have unlocked this that on my first try I was going to get this, but I was kind of curious to see if I could kind of deal. So long story short, it does require a bit of practice to get to the point where you can comfortably unlock where you can comfortably like pick locks kind of deal. It takes a bit of practice, which, you know, kind of makes sense kind of deal. So one thing I do want to take a little bit of time and talk a little bit more about is the different kinds of pins. So this is like your standard pins where all the pins are kind of just straight board. They don't have any kind of extra security. Higher level locks have different kinds of pins that are either kind of set up as like a spool, what's called a spool. And I'll have pictures of it so that you can kind of check it out, what I'm talking about. And then other ones where it's also called like a serrated pin, which you can actually see the pins on here. So this is the spool pins one. So you can see the little spools that go up and down, and all it basically does is it gets snagged on the actual cylinder, so it makes it more difficult to pick kind of deal. So it'll give you false positives thinking that you have a pin unlocked when you actually don't. Things like that. So this is the spool version this is the spool version that you see right here, and then you have the serrated version kind of deal, which also is just like how the name implies, it's serrated, so it even gives you even more false positives in regards to if feeling like it's completely secured like you unlock this pin, but in reality you have a false positive kind of deal. So it's this kind of stuff that is just, it requires a bit of practice to get it to the point where you have these successfully unlocked. So I think summarizing this video, because I know this video is probably going to go for a little bit longer than I expected it to, but long story short, you can definitely learn to pick locks, but it's not going to be a quick, you get like a few practice locks and you're now a lock master. That's why you have these lock pick smiths that are, you know, they've been years in the trade and that's what they do. And they make it look easy. I know when I had looked at the Sparrow Lock Picks and the tutorials they give, the guy that, you know, does the actual videos, he makes it look super, super easy. In reality, it's definitely not. So as a first time try, like, would I recommend it? Yeah, I think it's actually kind of fun to be able to learn the lock picking. It's definitely something that you could actually learn even in just the first few minutes, how to pick your first lock, especially with these tutorial things. I think having these little tutorial lock picks, having these tutorial locks to kind of help with, really make a difference. And they have quite a bit of mass on them too. These are hefty metal locks that are, you know, rigid. They're going to last, you know, picking at them and kind of working with them kind of deal. But in essence, I think that definitely, but yeah, in essence, I think it's one of those things where you can definitely learn how to pick a lock, but it's not going to be something you're going to be able to do on your first try. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you're interested in what you saw and you want to know when new videos kind of drop on this new channel, definitely subscribe to the channel, hit the notifications, and yeah, I guess we will see you next time. So take care, guys.